This is an article on Mercator, which I believe is a Catholic website. Let me just check for you. I'm just reading what it says about Mercator, who was a great Renaissance cartographer. It doesn't specifically say. Okay, it says, what about God? We believe in God. The editor is Catholic, so there you go. But defending human dignity is the task of people of every religion and none. And Shakespeare's quoted, what a piece of work is man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculties, in form and moving, how express and admirable in action, how like an angel in apprehension, how like a god, the beauty of the world. That's Shakespeare in Hamlet. But fundamentally, it is about seeing the world through a Christian lens. And I'm saying that's a problem. That is the problem. So many social conservatives thinking that they can go back to Christianity just like that, and they know they sort of, no, they don't sort of, they know it can't be done, but they still dream of doing that. And they're wasting their time. And they're wasting their energy by not promoting the correct solution, because they are all harking back to a time when the West was operating on Christianity and not knowing how much their ancestors must have hated Christianity. But I suppose most people tend not to write diaries, and even if they post on social media, it's a very ephemeral form of recording your life, and it will soon be lost. But let me read Kenneth Grasso's article about the collapse of American Christianity and the disuniting of America. In the aftermath of the West's victory in the Cold War, scholars were celebrating the third wave of democratization that seemed to be sweeping the world, and democracy's apparent triumph over its competitors. Today, however, it appears that the celebration was premature. Indeed, even in the United States, the home of modern democracy, there is increasing concern about democracy's future. It's interesting, isn't it? They talk about democracy. It's like, well, if you're going to go on about Christianity, well, talk about Christianity, and then you start talking about democracy, as if Christianity were anything to do with democracy. Do you really think that European kings, when they converted to Christianity, consulted their subjects? It was always a top-down thing. So this, the first paragraph, conflating Christianity with democracy, it's like, well, it's not the same, is it? I know in Germany there's a party called the Christian Democrats, but I suppose in Germany things evolved that way, as opposed to the Social Democrats. who believed in socialism and not in God. So the Christian Democrats must have thought that infusing their democracy with a bit of Christianity made them conservative. The signs that something is amiss are myriad. One thinks here about the widespread collapse of trust in our political institutions and leaders, the decreasing ability of our political institutions to provide effective governance, the increasing disconnect between the people and political elites, our ever increasing polarization, which finds expression in the ongoing and debilitating culture war which has transformed our political life into cold civil war and increasing political violence, for example, Charlottesville, the 1619 and January 6 riots, etc., more and more one gets a sense that America is falling apart. Many different explanations have been proposed for the problems that beset us. While there are undoubtedly multiple causes at work here, what I want to focus on is what I believe to be a fundamental yet neglected factor. I've forgotten to share my post, so I'll do it now. Right, to continue. Many different explanations have been proposed for the problems that beset us. While there are undoubtedly multiple causes at work here, what I want to focus on is what I believe to be a fundamental yet neglected factor, the sea change that has taken place in American religious life. As Ross Douthat has observed, a map of America's religious past would look like a vast delta, with tributaries, streams, and channels winding in and out, but all of them fed ultimately by a central stream, an original current, a place where all the water stopped. That place is not the orthodoxy of any specific Christian church, but the shared theological commitments that have defined the parameters of Christianity since the early church. Now, are they talking about the Trinity? For the past half century, however, that spring has gradually been drying up, so much so that we are witnessing the slow motion collapse of traditional Christianity in America. The transformation of our religious landscape includes a rapid demographic decline of American Christianity. According to Pew, the percentage of Americans who describe themselves as Christians has declined by 12% between 1998 and 2018, and current projections are that within a few decades, less than half of Americans will identify as Christians. The increasing marginalization of Christians and accelerating de-Christianization of American culture, the declining importance of religion in the lives of Americans, the rise of the so-called nuns, the emergence, especially among the young, of deep-seated skepticism of and even hostility towards organized religion, the undisguised contempt of cultural elites towards Christianity. There you go. The Fourth Estate's undisguised contempt towards Christianity. Because it's just so stupid, right? Anyone can see that. You don't have to be a member of the cultural elite to really balk at the pile of poo-poo that Christians are supposed to believe in. The emergence of religious traditions native to Asia and the Middle East are presences on the American scene, and the rise of what are sometimes called remix religions or do-it-yourself religions. As late as 1931, the Supreme Court could describe Americans as a Christian people. Would anyone make the same claim today? No, which is why I keep saying Christianity is kaput. Self-government requires virtue, and virtue needs moral consensus. What then are the connections between our new post-Christian religious landscape and our contemporary malaises? Malaises? The most obvious connection concerns what once was called republican virtue. The founders recognized that self-government required virtue. Benjamin Franklin concisely expressed their view when he insisted that only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As nations become corrupt and vicious, they have more need of masters. At the time of the founding and for most of our history, religious institutions, primarily Christian churches and associations, played a key role both in defining what virtue consists of and inculcating it. The contemporary collapse of these institutions, combined with their ongoing marginalization, has created a yawning vacuum at the heart of our culture. The resultant decline in civic virtue has struck at the very foundation of our republic. We're not getting to the point yet. We're halfway through this article. So just it happened. Oh, he's on Twitter anyway. Slightly more followers than me. 148. Oh, I can discuss this essay with him then. So follow me on Twitter and see where it takes us. Likewise, these developments have played a role in what Arthur Schlesinger Jr. once called the disuniting of America. One of the oldest sociological generalizations, as Robert Bellah writes, is that any coherent and viable society rests on a common set of moral understandings about good and bad, right and wrong in the realm of individual and social action. So no hide laws, isn't it? He hasn't said it. These understandings in turn provide both the basic cultural legitimization of for a society which is viewed as at least approximately in accordance with them and a standard of judgment for the criticism of a society that is seen as deviating too far from them. A political society, in other words, depends for its stability and vitality on a consensus about the political and moral principles legitimizing the structure of the polities, public order, specifying the content of the common good and providing a common language and intellectual universe for public affairs. This agreement at the level of political life, however, has to be anchored in something deeper than itself. Civic moral systems don't just bring in the air, but rather must be rooted in something deeper than themselves, in a society's understanding of man and the universe. Oh, let me read that again because I didn't quite understand it myself. This agreement at the level of political life, however, has to be anchored in something deeper than itself. Civic moral systems don't hang in the air, but rather must be rooted in something deeper than themselves, in the society's understanding of man and the universe. This doesn't mean that there must be agreement on the totality of metaphysical and theological truths governing human life. It does mean, however, that there is enough commonality at this level to make possible an agreement on the moral principles governing public life. Political unity, in short, presupposes an antecedent cultural and moral unity. Christianity once provided moral unity. Alexis de Tocqueville called attention to the central role of this antecedent cultural unity in securing the political unity of the large, diverse, and vociferous nation he visited in the 1830s. One of the most important sources of this antecedent unity, he contended, was a fervent Christianity that pervaded 19th century America. Reigning by universal consent, Tocqueville notes, in America, reigning by universal consent, notes, reigning by universal consent, Tocqueville notes, in America, Christianity was an established and irresistible fact and had a far-reaching impact on American culture, on the character of Americans both individually and collectively. Therefore, there were many sects in America. They all belonged to the great unity of Christendom, and therefore they looked at religion from the same point of view and professed in common a great number of moral truths. Thus, Christianity provided a common body of moral principles and shared understanding of man, the human good, and the proper structure of social relations which the public life could take its bearings. By doing so, it played a key role in supplying what Duthat calls the invisible mortar that held our large, pluralistic, and fractious polity together. Admittedly, the American religious scene was not static. Although there was a Catholic minority, the America Tocqueville visited was a demographically and culturally Protestant nation. By the first half of the 20th century, the American religious scene came to include large numbers of Catholics and Jews, and America's self-understanding as a Protestant nation gave way to a generically Christian self-understanding, and later to a broader self-understanding rooted in what James Davis and Hunter terms biblical theism, in which Judaism was understood to be a legitimate participant in the American project. That was after World War II and the Holocaust, of course. By the 1950s, biblical theism supplied much of the cultural cement that was once supplied by the Protestantism of early America. Well into the middle of the 20th century, as Francis Canavan reminds us, America's religious pluralism was a pluralism of a multitude of religious branches that sprang from a common stem, and in most respects, particularly regarding matters of public concern, taught the same biblical morality that told citizens what virtue was and how to acquire it. The collapse of Christianity and the growth of disunity. The collapse of this shared religious heritage simultaneously injected a wide range of potentially explosive moral issues into public life. Indeed, it has turned our politics into a clash between fundamentally different understandings of the meaning and purpose of human existence. It thereby brings into political play absolutes which to the combatants are non-negotiable, and thus resist resolution through the normal give and take of the democratic process. It makes impossible the type of broad overlapping moral and political consensus on which the well-being of the body politic depends, and thus threatens the polity's very cohesion. How long can civic unity endure in the face of citizens who hold irreconcilable visions of man and view each other with contempt? I mean, he's saying that America needs an official religion, obviously. And also, America is causing disunity and collapse in the rest of the West. So, non-American Westerners should have a think about the collapse and disuniting of America because of the collapse of American Christianity. The collapse of Christianity and the growth of disunity. Sorry, I'm just trying to find where I left off. Now, it might be objected that America's shared religious heritage has not been our sole source of civic unity. This is undoubtedly correct. Other factors, including, among other things, a British constitutional tradition, a shared language, the Western natural law tradition, and our long-standing reverence toward the Constitution, have played important roles here. A comprehensive account of America's civic unity would have to reckon with these other factors. What must be emphasized here, however, is the centrality of religion to human social life. When all is said and done, politics is decisively shaped by culture. I think he's putting the cart before the horse. And culture is decisively shaped by religion. Well, I'm not going to argue with that. I'm saying culture is a product of law and morality. Indeed, as Philip Reeve put it, the historical task of culture is to transliterate otherwise invisible sacred orders into their visible modalities, social orders. To understand a political order, therefore, it is necessary to understand the religious vision that shapes it. Thus, as Bella notes, the common moral understandings on which a society trades themselves depend upon a common set of religious understandings that provide a picture of a universe in terms of which the moral understandings make sense. When such shared understandings disappear, moral consensus becomes increasingly problematic, and the public order that this consensus had informed becomes increasingly precarious. What I'm suggesting is this: a shared religious tradition, originally Protestant, then generically Christian, and finally Judeo-Christian, was one of the most important threads that held together the fabric of this large, diverse, and fractious nation, and the removal of that thread has caused the fabric to begin to come apart. Seen in this light, the loss of a common set of religious understandings is one of the principal events, perhaps a principal event of our time. It fundamentally divides up America from the various Americas of the past and goes a long way towards explaining what we see today: a collapse of civic virtue, cold civil war, and dysfunctional government. In short, the gradual and not so gradual disabling of our political institutions and unraveling of the body politic. Where we go from here is anyone's guess. Well, it's time for me to introduce Kenneth L. Grasso to secular Quranism. He is a professor of political science at Texas State University, San Marcos. He received his MA and PhD from Fordham University and his BA in Government and Politics from St. John's University. He has edited or co-edited several books, including Theology and Public Philosophy, Defending the Republic, and Rethinking Rights, Historical, Political, and Philosophical Perspectives. So, is he actually the editor? Let me see. No, it's Michael Cook who is the editor. And Kenneth Grasso is not even on the editorial team. And he has stated the problem without giving the solution. It's very typical. Nobody's really interested in giving the solution. I mean, it's sort of, well, if Christianity is over and out, you need something to replace it. If your boiler's no longer working, you need to remove the old one that no longer works and put a new one in. And you won't have space for two, I'm afraid. it's just crazy to keep the old one that no longer works in your home. Why would you be keeping the old boiler in your home when it no longer works? You need to remove it. You need to remove it so the new one that actually works can, well, come in and give you heating and hot water. And it's so obvious. But a lot of Christians are very sensitive, very sentimental about their old boiler, which they think is some kind of family heirloom. I think, okay, family heirlooms. Let's think of examples. You can think of, portraits of distant ancestors. An heirloom is something passed down in a family for generations. Your grandma's prize necklace could be an heirloom. If you know what an heir is, if you know that an heir is a younger person in a family who will inherit things when relatives die, you have a clue to the meaning of heirloom. So I'm saying, again, I have to repeat myself, sadly, that religion is not, it's not an heirloom, it's a working boiler. It's a working boiler, and this is how you need to think of it. So it's a vision thing, I suppose. You look at Christianity and you see, I don't know, ancient stone buildings, stained glass windows, lots of idols, works of art, and I'm saying these are just the artifacts of a religion. So this reminds me of an exhibition I saw, of the Aztecs in the British Museum many years ago, and I saw, that dagger, which was beautifully made, and it was a dagger that was used to plunge into the hearts of, the human sacrifices, and then, you pull it out and throw it down the pyramid, together with the human sacrifice. And you can say, wow, it's a beautiful dagger, it's so beautifully made. And then you think, well, the Aztecs are no longer around practicing their human sacrifice. And therefore, that beautiful dagger that I saw at the British Museum is but an artifact, but a relic of an extinct religion. And this is how Westerners should look. This is how Westerners should see Christianity. And I'm not saying it to be mean, I'm saying if you carry on like this, you're just eating food that's not fit for consumption. It means you're jumping out of a plane with a parachute that won't open, and things will get worse. And then you don't. Okay, if you believe in God, you can think, well, God is cursing us for our idolatry and blasphemy. And if you don't believe in God, then you think, well, I think even atheists can understand what religion is for. It's a form of mind control. I completely agree. Our minds need to be controlled up to a point with the policeman in our mind. Okay, think of God as a kind of cookie or something that you have to let onto your computer so that next time you visit it, it sort of remembers who you are and directs you to the places you ought to go, or whatever it is that cookies do. I'm a bit vague about that, but it's supposed to enhance your surfing experience. So you don't have to keep typing in your password or whatever. So I know it's difficult for you know people who thought of themselves as Christian to see it just rot before their eyes in the last few years. But don't worry, it's been rotting for centuries. That is the good news. It's like, don't blame the Jews and whatever. It's like, it was never meant to work. If God exists and forbade idolatry and blasphemy, Christians were cursed a long time ago for making up shit about God, pretending he's Jesus, all that rubbish. And this is just the how do you say it? The manifestation of that curse that was made a long time ago. Now, I used to think that it was a bit backward to think of God as cursing people until I read Deuteronomy 28, when in the Torah it says quite plainly that Jews are cursed, but would be cursed by God if they do certain things. Well, if they break the if they commit the 36 capital offenses of Judaism, basically. So, do we take it seriously? Gentile Jews? I was saying in my previous stream that in a way we don't know what to do for the best, because we don't know if God exists. And obviously if we all knew that God exists, we would just behave ourselves and obey his laws. But since a lot of us don't think he exists, we do what we like. And this has a destabilizing effect on our laws and society, particularly if our ruling classes are mostly composed of corrupt, incompetent atheists and nihilists who show contempt for Christianity. But I mean, the problem is you can almost understand why they feel such hatred and contempt for Christianity, because it's so stupid, right? It's so stupid. And if you go to Speaker's Corner, you'll just know that they can't defend themselves. That's why you get all these Muslims there. It's really like shooting fish in a barrel. You just go there and they can't argue that they're wide open. It's like an open goal, and everybody has fun kicking the goal in. Even old grannies can have fun kicking the goal into the open goal that is Christianity. And so, people like Kenneth Grasso just needs to get with the program and understand that Christianity is over and out. And the thing is, it's not the end of the world. There's actually something better than Christianity that would solve all your problems, but because of your Islamophobia, your pride, you won't accept that God played a practical joke on idolaters and blasphemers, and unfortunately for you, you are the descendants of idolaters and blasphemers, and you can say, "Oh, it's not my fault. I didn't, have, and it's like, yeah, okay, it's not your fault. You were forced into it, and we know all about your ancestors being, burned at the stake for questioning the Trinity. So it's like, yeah, okay, you were forced into pretending to believe it, and then the moment that your government gave up the practice of heretic burning, you all openly disbelieved, and then you tried liberalism, and then you tried communism and fascism and Nazism, and it failed. It's not like you didn't try all the other stuff. You did, and it's all crashed and burned, and now you have secular Quranism. for which you should be grateful. So, well, just get with the program, talk about it. Obviously, uh, the title of this essay of Kenneth Grasso is The Collapse of Christianity. So, if you know that Christianity has collapsed, then you'll have to find a replacement. So you need a new religion, and well, you know which one I'm going to suggest, and you know how I'm going to propose its implementation. And actually, I'm just going to say rejoice, because the solution is at your hands. It's not like you even have to, you don't even have to leave the room to get it. If you're listening to this, and you will be listening to this, on your computer or on your phone or on your tablet or your laptop, it's already at your fingertips, because it's available on Amazon, and all you have to do is order it and read it, and talk about it with each other, and or even ask me questions. But I mean, Kenneth Grasso has already admitted that Christianity has collapsed, and he isn't just any old person. He's a professor of political science at Texas State University, San Marcos. He's got an MA and PhD from Fordham University, and he has a BA in government and politics from St. John's University, and he edited and co-edited several books. Okay, he didn't write them, he co-edited them. Theology and Public Philosophy, Defending the Republic, Rethinking Rights, Historical, Political and Philosophical Perspective. So I guess what I'm going to do now is tweet at him and let him know all about secular Quranism. So that's why I have to go now. Dr. Mengele, how nice to see you. Hello. I hope you're following me on Twitter. Oh, no, you're not on Twitter, are you? You're not on Facebook either. I'm mostly on Khalid Safir's YouTube channel, but I will I'll give you the link to his channel, Dr. Mengele. We talk to each other quite regularly. I shall be talking to him tomorrow about Christianity and why Christians can't admit they're wrong, or why they're illogical, or something along those lines. So I hope that you all like this channel, subscribe to this channel, and then go on over to Khaled's channel that I have been appearing on quite a lot. He's got, well, I mean, he spoke to E. Michael Jones, Dr. Mengele, not very long ago. He spoke to E. Michael Jones twice, and he thinks E. Michael Jones won't be talking to him again because he's asked a few questions about the Trinity that E. Michael Jones can't answer. So this is where you should find me. I can stream on Twitter, but I really prefer just typing, making my point, and having exchanges of that nature rather than just rambling on here. So thank you for all of you who have come, and I guess I'll be talking to you again before too long.